To stay updated with latest videos and tips, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Press the bell icon and never miss any update.
This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to part 1.
You will hear a woman phoning about an event at a botanic garden. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Listen carefully to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning, you're through to the treehouse at the Botanic Garden. How can I help?
Oh, hello. I'd like to book a place on the, Japanese floral art workshop.
Ah, yes. Do you mean our workshop on the 16th?
No, it's on the 6th. Saturday the 6th.
Ah, yes. Got it up here on screen now. Japanese Floral Art Workshop. That's great. You're just in time. We're nearly full. 12 people have already booked a place, and this workshop is limited to 15 participants. It's one of our most popular workshops. In fact, it's the 5th one we've run. And this is the last one this term. There won't be another workshop until next year now.
Oh, great. Thanks a lot. And can I just check the start time? It says on the leaflet I've got here that it begins at 12:30.
That's right. It finishes at 1:30. Most of our other workshops are only half an hour long, but this one is longer. In fact, we're thinking of running some longer ones in the future.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm really glad it lasts for a full hour. I don't think I would be able to come up with any kind of floral arrangement in less time than that, and certainly not in 30 minutes.
Me neither. Now, one more thing. The workshop itself is free, but we're asking participants to pay £5 each just to cover the cost of the floral supplies.
That's fine.
Now, before I book you a place, I'll just give you some information about what'll happen on the day.
Now you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen to the next part of the conversation and answer.
Basically, it's a real hands-on workshop, so you'll be making your own floral arrangement that you can take home afterwards.
That's great. I'm really looking forward to that.
Now, a couple of important things. Please remember to bring scissors or cutters to the workshop. Unfortunately, we only have a limited number of pairs to lend people who forget them on the day. Last year, some participants ended up using penknives, which are not at all suitable for floral arranging.
Right. I'll make a note of that.
And you'll also need to bring your own container.
Do you mean a bag, that sort of thing?
No, you need a shallow container. Basically, it has to be shallow with a wide base, so that you can use it to work on your arrangement. It can be pottery, wood, plastic, whatever you like.
Oh, of course. I see. I'm sure I can find something suitable.
And when you arrive for the workshop, ask for Elizabeth Macmillan. She's leading the event. She's a really experienced workshop leader. She's been running the event for us for many years, so you'll certainly be in good hands.
That's good to know.
Now, I'll just take your details for the booking form. Can I have your first name?
Yes, it's Lubna.
Lubna. Can you spell that for me?
Lubna.
And your surname?
Awan.
Is that Awam?
No, it's an N at the end.
Thank you. And a contact number, just in case we need to get in touch with you before the workshop.
Yes, it's 0759 830 5321.
Thanks. That's all the information we need. So that's you booked in. Oh, actually, just one more thing. Would you like to be on our mailing list? This means that we can send you information about future events and workshops. All we need is your email address.
Yes, that's great. My email address is lawan25@yahoo.com.
OK, I'll just read that back. LAWAN25@yahoo.com.
Yes, that's correct.
OK, I'll pop all your details on the system and we'll see you at the workshop next weekend.
Thanks a lot for your help. Bye.
This is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Section 2.
You will hear a woman talking about health and safety when using a computer. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 and 12. Listen carefully to the first part of the talk and answer questions 11 and 12. Hello everyone and welcome to the second session on health and safety. And today we're focusing on health and safety when using a computer. Now, can you all gather round this workstation here? That's great, thanks. OK now. Let's look at some equipment that is specifically designed for safe computer use. Firstly, take a look at this item here. Yes, the sloped slab in front of the keyboard. Does anyone know what it is? That's right, it's a wrist rest. And it does a lot more than take up room on your desk, I can tell you. Well, what does it do exactly? In actual fact, it's specifically designed to support your wrist when you're typing or when you're using a computer mouse. Now, the one I'm holding in my hand is made of foam rubber. Come on now, have a feel. You know you want to. Now, it's very flexible, isn't it? The padding is firm, but it also gives way when you press it, just like this. Here's another type, by the way. This one is filled with gel. Now, like the foam rubber type, it's got a firm surface, but when you press it like this, it gives way with a little spring. However, not all wrist rests are flexible like that. Some are made from hard plastic. That doesn't sound like a comfortable support for your wrist, does it? So, not to be recommended. Now you have some time to look at questions 13 to 17. Now listen to the next part of the talk and answer questions 13 to 17. OK, so we know what kind of material we're looking for in a wrist rest. But what else do we have to think about before we choose one? Now, look again at the foam rubber wrist rest here. You can see that the slope of the wrist rest and the height and the width too match the front edge of the keyboard here. And there are no sharp edges. Look, it's really nice and smooth. Now, we know it's a busy time for you all at the moment. You're busy with assignments in between the hours you're spending browsing the net and going on social networking sites. Well, just think about how hard your wrist has to work. So, using a wrist rest like this one can really help in a number of ways. First of all, it helps you keep your wrist straight when you're using your computer. I'm demonstrating this now. As you can see, my wrist is neutral and straight rather than bent up and down. See what I mean? Now, it can also provide padding for your hands. It works in much the same way as a cushion, so it makes your desk much more comfortable. Now, please note, I did say cushion rather than pillow. We don't want you students to be too comfortable. Another advantage of a wrist rest is that it stops your hands from dropping off the edge of the keyboard. A wrist rest can also relieve tension and soreness in your neck and shoulders. And how does it do that exactly? Well, it removes the weight of your arm from your shoulders and neck altogether. So there are a lot of benefits, aren't there? However, most people never learn how to use a wrist rest correctly. In fact, leaning your wrists on a wrist rest for long periods can put a lot of pressure on the undersides of your wrists, just here. Now you have some time to look at questions 18 to 20. Now listen to the rest of the talk and answer questions 18 to 20. So, to make the most of your wrist rest, it's really important to follow a few basic tips. First of all, make sure you place your wrist rest approximately 1.5 inches away from your keyboard, like this. And never ever place your wrists directly on your wrist rest. Instead, place the palm or ball of your hand on the rest. And another thing, don't use the wrist rest all the time, particularly when you're typing. Instead, your hands should be on the wrist rests during break periods, so between your typing sessions. This will avoid you putting strain on your wrists and fingers. Now, does anyone have any questions before we move on to computer glasses?
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 3.
Section 3. You will hear a student, Eric, talking to his lecturer, Miss Harris, about essay writing. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Miss Harris. Here we are talking once again.
Well, I'm always willing to help out wherever possible. Is anything troubling you?
Well, your advice last week about writing summaries was very useful, and I'm using these summaries a lot in order to prepare my final master's thesis.
But you're having problems, right?
Yes, I have a few issues to discuss. Obviously, I want a good essay, and I want to achieve high marks, but I'm not sure on the best way to start.
That's an easy question. Start with a topic, but not one that I necessarily suggest, but one that you want to explore. You will always write better when doing so on a topic you are interested in, not one imposed upon you by others.
Well, I'm interested in management theory.
Then pursue that. However, that alone is far too broad. Break it into various current areas of discussion and relevance. Then look more carefully at one of them. Say, management and cultural differences, or management and motivation, or other aspects, such as the role of salary, group cohesion, or leadership.
I would say I'm interested in group cohesion, that is, how people interact in the workplace.
Well, that's a start, but you can't then just write planlessly without defining exactly what you intend to do within the area you've chosen. You'll have to think of a thesis, and this statement could be of several types.
Such as what?
Oh, you could argue a point, something that you believe in, or discuss an issue, looking at its various perspectives, or critique the opinions of others, pointing out the pitfalls and flaws. The thesis statement will make that very clear because it will say, in simple terms, what you intend to achieve in your essay.
I see. And then I can just begin writing, right?
Wrong.
Huh?
If your essay is going to be clear, it needs to be logical and organised, and this means you'll need an outline. This could be written as a flowchart or spider graph, that is, a series of connected lines. But whatever shape the outline takes, there must be a sense of progress in, more or less, a straight line towards a goal.
And then my essay will be good?
With such progression, definitely, as long as you do achieve everything that you set out to do, as specified in the beginning, okay?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Well, Ms. Harris, your advice about essay writing all sounds very useful, solid and step-by-step, so I'll certainly follow that. But can you tell me in more general terms, what constitutes the best essay?
Oh, there are many aspects to consider, but one of the most important is certainly original thinking. The best essays are written by people who think for themselves, and not just copy or imitate established views.
I think I can do that.
But remember, you can't just give a list of unsupported assertions. There needs to be support as well. A chain of logic linking each step in your argument.
Right.
Yet that alone is not enough. Your argument may be logically sound, but is it practically so? For that, you need examples from real life to illustrate your points or subpoints.
I've got lots of examples from my course readings. I suppose I could use them.
But remember, whenever you use an example or facts or figures that are not commonly known, you must give a reference. That's an academic necessity, without which your writing will automatically fail.
So it's necessary to give these, right?
Absolutely. And with that, your essay will be fine. But always ensure that you format it clearly.
What do you mean?
I mean the practical considerations. as written in the University Style Guide, such as leaving appropriate margins, using double spacing, Arial font, and so on. You see, your writing must look good as well as be good.
I can certainly do that.
And finally, related to the previous point, you need to respect the number of words required. Your individual lecturers will give you a word count figure, so follow what they say, making your essay neither too long nor too short. Perhaps 10% either way should be acceptable. 15% was common when I was younger, but it's a lot stricter now, and 20% would be pushing the boundaries just a little too far.
I guess I can do all that. Thanks for your advice.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4.
You will hear a lecturer discussing the history of people's beliefs regarding whether the Sun or the Earth is at the centre of the solar system. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
In the night sky, the stars appear to revolve around the Earth, rising in the east and disappearing in the west. The Earth itself seems solid, fixed and stable, and such common sense perception suggests that the Earth is the centre of the universe. This is known as geocentrism, with geo meaning Earth, and all pre-modern civilizations drew this conclusion. We now know, of course, that the Earth revolves around the Sun, and this is called heliocentrism, with helio meaning sun. But historically, it took quite a while for this to be deduced. As early as the 3rd century BC, an ancient Greek astronomer, Aristarchus of Samos, proposed heliocentrism, but received little support from his peers. Similarly, throughout subsequent history, isolated individuals proposed this new idea, but again, no one was listening. Geocentrism just seemed too logical to refute. Geocentrism also fitted the views of the established Christian Church, who could quote biblical passages such as, "The world also shall be stable, that it be not moved." Those who dared disagree were subject to accusations of heresy, often with dire punishments to follow. The trouble was, as the night sky was observed more closely, that simple revolution of the stars proved not so simple at all. In relation to the other stars, some steadily wandered in given directions, then sometimes reversed for months, and disappeared altogether. They were called planets, meaning wanderers. In addition, the position of the Sun and Moon altered slightly over the year, and comets, those mysterious glowing spots, would come and go. In order to predict the motion of the planets and accurately serve the primary purpose of navigation for sailing ships, increasingly elaborate mathematical models were needed, a sure sign that something was not quite right. Heliocentrism, or the belief that the Sun is the centre of the solar system, still needed a mathematically sound description before it could be scientifically accepted. And it was a Polish astronomer, Nicholas Copernicus, who in 1543 first published this. This event is sometimes referred to as the Copernican Revolution. Copernicus himself certainly feared the consequences of his proof, knowing full well it might invoke the anger of the established church. Probably for this reason, he waited until the last year of his life, when he was sick and dying, to release his findings. In addition, the preface of the book, written by a respected member of the church, stated that the model was not necessarily correct. As a result of this, there was no revolution whatsoever. In fact, the book received scant attention in the subsequent decades, apart from a few irate clergymen who angrily dismissed the whole scheme as irrelevant. Yet the following generations of astronomers did not always fare so well. The Italian scientist Galileo got into trouble, as did a fellow Italian with the surname Bruno, Giordano Bruno, who was burnt at the stake. Yet ultimately nothing could slow the spread of heliocentrism across Europe. It formed the basis of Isaac Newton's great work on the motion of the planets, a work which implied that even the Sun, around which the Earth circled, was itself in motion around a common centre of gravity. No discourse about heliocentrism could finish without mentioning that, somewhat unbelievably, there still exist those today who choose to believe that the Earth is the centre of the universe. Modern geocentrism is usually the result of literal interpretations of the Bible, which is the cornerstone of these people's beliefs. They, therefore, also believe in creationism, that is, that a God created everything, and while we may smile at this, it is sobering to consider that surveys have revealed that up to 10% of British people, 12% of Europeans, 20% of the USA, and 25% of the Middle East still hold the belief that the Sun revolves around the Earth. One can only wonder what Copernicus would have thought of this.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
To stay updated with latest videos and tips, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Press the bell icon and never miss any update. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching this video. To stay updated with latest videos and tips, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Press the bell icon and never miss any update.